Rachel Jones with the Rachel Jones team, and I am here with Adam Dellemonico from Movement Mortgage and Alex Mitchell from Meridian Custom Homes. So today we're going to be talking about pros and cons of a new construction. So Alex, we're going to put you in the hot seat first.
Terrific.
What are some of the pros and cons coming directly from the builder of building a new construction in this day and age in this market?
Okay, first, full disclosure, Meridian Custom Homes is a new home construction company, so that is our focus, and it's really the focus of our clients. They're looking for a new home. It's what we do almost exclusively. That being said, I do recognize that there are some cons with building a new home. One con is the time. It takes time. You know, as they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, so it does take some time. Time to build a home can depend a lot on who the builder is, the size of your home, how evolved it is, how much detailing goes into the house, so that can take some time. But by and large, for us, we're 12 months plus or minus from the time we have the building permit. Some can go quicker if they're more of a production-based builder. They can certainly take longer if they're larger and even more detailed. But in that spectrum, so that timing can be an issue when compared to like a brand new house where you're walking in and it's completed. That being said, it can be very difficult, particularly in New England, to walk into a house that is all done and doesn't need something. So if you're comparing it to a renovation of a home, small renovation or major renovation, the differences can be not that dramatic, but timing can be an issue. Another issue that can come up is just there are decisions to be made. That can be a real positive as well. But if you're a person who just does not have the time to make decisions, or if the decision-making process feels like it might be overwhelming for you, new construction might not be for you.
Right.
At the same time, if you connect yourself with a quality builder or a quality design person, an architect who can help manage that process, it can be tremendous. It can be a really enjoyable process, creating a house that is truly yours.
Exactly as you want it. It's very rare for you to find a house that has every single thing that you would want.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
exactly right.
A resale.
I've done a few new constructions, and my first one I did literally from the dirt up. I was a newer agent and I was overwhelmed by the amount of questions. Like, do you want an electrical outlet here or here? And I was like, I don't know if the new construction would be for me. But now that I've done it a few times and now that I have the life with kids and stuff, I'm like, you know, that might be nice down the road to just customize it exactly how you want it. Adam, what are some of the pros and cons in the finance world of a new construction?
Yeah, so really there's two types of new construction. Do you want to first talk about the non-turnkey version, or do you want me to talk about the turnkey version? Then we can.
Why don't you hit the turnkey?
Yeah.
I think the non-turnkey is maybe a little bit more involved.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so from a turnkey standpoint, what that basically means is you're purchasing the end product, so the builder is financing the build from the ground up. You're not getting a construction loan where you're financing the build, you're financing the land. What you're doing is you're looking at the specs, you're making your selections, right? And then you're purchasing the end product. So from a lender's perspective, you can get a traditional mortgage that way. You don't need a new construction loan. You can get a regular conventional mortgage. The con that could be a pro, it should be a con as well, but is the rate lock decision. So if you have a 12-month build and you get a contract, early on in that process, I can start the loan, I can start the processing, for that financing. So if you're 12 months out, yes, we have an extended rate lock option where you can lock for up to 360 days, but that's a little bit more expensive than a traditional 30, 60, or 90-day rate lock. So that can be a con. So you have to make the decision of, do you lock and do an extended lock program, or do you float, meaning you kind of play the market, wait to see what happens, and then lock closer to closing. And so again, with that being a pro and a con, rates could be lower than when you started, or they could be higher, and then you'd be stuck with a higher rate than you had originally planned. What we'll typically do is talk with the client, say this is what your rate would be as of today, and here's what it would be 1% and 1.5% higher, right? So what worst case scenario, and just kind of play it from that route, because they need to be able to afford it if they do float and rates do go up. At the end of the day, they can't just walk away at that point, or wouldn't be ideal. So that could be a pro and a con, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So as you described, the turnkey is what people are mostly familiar with. You go and get your mortgage, you close on the house, you now own it, you have a mortgage in place. So people are very familiar with that. The other option for financing a construction home, we call construction contract, whereby our client either already owns the land or they're buying the land, sometimes from us, sometimes from somebody else, and then they finance it with the lender. And in that respect, they are locking in their interest rate really sort of on day one. So during the build, the interest rate doesn't go up. It's fixed, and upon completion, automatically converts to a 30-year mortgage. Also important to understand, under a construction contract form of purchase, you're paying interest only during the build of the house, and you're only paying interest on the amount borrowed. So for example, day one, if you borrowed $200,000 to borrow the land, and maybe you've got another $600,000 set aside with the bank to fund the construction, just making up the numbers here. You're not paying on the whole amount, you're paying based on what was borrowed at that moment in time.
Got it.
$200,000, and then during a very specific construction and funding schedule, it goes up to the completion of the house.
Awesome. Okay, and that could be a pro and a con as well, depending on the market and where things are at. But
Exactly, and the ability of a client to maybe hold the mortgage on their existing house plus the construction.
Right, plus the interest only. Yeah, makes sense. Awesome.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
And just from a realtor standpoint, when I'm working with clients, new construction, there's a lot of pros because there might be an abundance of new construction if they're buying in a development, so it doesn't necessarily have to be a multi-bid, helter-skelter situation. However, then the price is not really negotiable because everything is brand new essentially in the house. Do you do any new constructions that are listed? And if so, then what's your thought process about why there's no negotiation on the price?
Sure. Well, I would say there can be some negotiation on the price, depending on the builder and depending on where they are, on the cost of the house and the market conditions at that time. So you're right. I think it's typically seen that there's none or very little negotiability with a home being built by a builder. There can be some negotiation, but you're right. It's usually not that significant. You know, maybe not too different from the resale market. There's not a lot of negotiation,
Right.
or any today.
And is that because essentially like all the materials are brand new and everything that you're doing is essentially brand new, which is kind of
The cost is the cost, right?
yeah.
That's exactly right. The cost is the cost. You bought it today. You know what your cost structure is, and we know that clients are smart. And you can only charge a reasonable amount above and beyond your cost to sell a house, to sell your
Right.
product.
Okay. Well, for more about pros and cons, feel free to reach out to us via Instagram at Rachel Jones Team. See you soon.
Thanks.